Hello and welcome to my YouTube video today. This week I experienced what it feels like to go from bulletproof to broken. It happened in a split second. Hang around. I'm going to tell you all about it. Since the beginning of the year, I have been steadily pushing up my mileage in my Run Every Day challenge. I'm trying to achieve 10,000 kilometers in 1,000 days. And over the last month, I've been averaging about 100 kilometers a week. I've been feeling bulletproof. I've been running hard. I've been enjoying the running. I've been enjoying the banter that goes with being a social runner. You see, the hardest thing for me to do is to run alone. So I like to run with others, and I like to set up my running calendar so that I'm meeting someone else for a run, enjoying some good conversation. And the sound of feet around me while I'm running along, it motivates me to run faster and to run harder. Unfortunately, about a week ago, it turns out that I put my foot in a hole and I turned my ankle. And within a split second, I was on the ground, I was in pain and feeling kind of quite helpless. Now, I'm not going to go through any more of the detail about that event. I did a podcast on it during the week. But what I'm reflecting on is this feeling of going from bulletproof to broken in a very short space of time. Now, fortunately, I didn't tear anything. I only just stretched some muscles and some tendons. And even though it's been badly bruised and painful and very sore to run on, I've made quite a quick recovery, and my physio, well, she's a rock star, and I've been able to get mobile quite quickly. Now, generally, I'm not one to fall into a hole. I mean, in the metaphoric sense, even though I just did fall in a hole. Anyway, I'm an action taker. I like to keep moving. But I've taken some time to sit on my couch and get my foot up and reflect on falling in a hole and what it's meant for me. Then it occurred to me that this is perhaps an analogy for many businesses at this moment in time, especially those who are business owners and entrepreneurs of small businesses who've been caught in this tsunami of lockdowns, COVID lockdowns. And many businesses have gone from bulletproof to broken over a short period of time. Now, over the last few years, I have managed to build up a reserve of physical fitness and strength that has helped me recover from my fall pretty quickly. But what does this look like for business? Well, to survive such an event requires most importantly, access to financial resources. And those financial resources are typically savings and investments, but for some it's even access to debt if they can get it. Now, if you're lucky enough to have your business in the US, well, then you've had access to huge amounts of financial support in the form of soft loans and stimmy checks sent directly from the government. But that's not the case in South Africa, and I don't think we've seen the full impact of what this lockdown tsunami has had on South African businesses. And government is not coming to the rescue anytime soon. So last year, I published a book that's called The Secrets of Business Performance and Value Creation. And if you want to get a free copy of the ebook, have a look in the description below and you can find a link that will give you access to this. Now, in hindsight, what I've discovered is I left out of the book something that I think is quite important. And recently I was having a discussion with one of my coaching clients about the resilience of his business. And I asked him to rank his business on a scale of 0 to 10 on what he thought his resilience is. And I simply called it the resilience ratio. And it's a measure of how long a business might survive if it fell in a hole, whatever that means for a business. Unfortunately, this is not so straightforward that you can go and take a number from the income statement and the balance sheet and put them together and get a ratio. It requires a little bit more. And some of the things that you might want to think about when thinking about the resilience ratio of your business. Well, first of all, you might be tempted to think about the profit margins, because maybe a high profit business is more resilient. But if you fall over and there's no revenue, well, then your profitability doesn't really matter. So what you might want to think about is, what is the proportion of fixed costs that you've got in your business? But most importantly, of those fixed costs, which of them can you delete or delay in order to extend your survival period? Now, some businesses might simply say, well, I've got a pile of cash on my balance sheet that makes me quite resilient. But for those who don't, you might want to think about, where can you access cash in your business? What can you get from your customers who haven't paid you yet? Or what support can you get from your suppliers, considering the fact that they might be in a similar position? And then there's the age-old conundrum of, do you start selling assets? And which assets to sell first, and which ones are liquid, and which ones impact less on your capacity to get up and going again when life maybe returns to normal, whatever that looks like. And then there's the debt ratio. What is your ability to access debt, knowing that it's going to increase your fixed costs with interest expenses? You're going to have to pay capital repayment. To think about, how can you get back on the road knowing that those expenses and cash flows are going to come into your business. One of the measures that makes a business resilient is the ability to access cash from the shareholders. Now, of course, if you are the only shareholder, well, that's a challenge, because you're required to access your own cash reserves and your own savings, and maybe you've already even depleted those. So support from other shareholders and being able to tell a story as to why keeping the business going is a good thing. That has a lot to do with the resilience of one's business. So each of these require some deliberate assessment. And my intention is to do some videos on each of these items and how they relate to the resilience ratio of a business. But I want to leave you with a thought. And perhaps you'll think about, on a scale of 0 to 10, what is your resilience ratio? And you might want to ask that both in your personal capacity, just thinking about your own internal resilience, and in terms of your business, if it's relevant for your business. What is your resilience ratio? We'll see you on the far post.